who had Tom McDonald from what is now the McDonald Winery of Pernod Ricard produce Cabernet Sauvignons, which were very high quality wines. That would never have happened without the 59 Sale of Liquor Act. In the 1970s, we saw Frank Yukich from Montana Wines, which is not too far from here in Glen Innes. He went to Marlborough to plant grapes there because he thought Marlborough was the best place in New Zealand to produce quality table wine. And all the Sauvignon Blancs that we drink in New Zealand today and around the world, they're a result of that one decision from Frank Yukich in 1972-73 to go to Marlborough because he wanted to produce table wine. And so that 59 Act was really important in terms of the shift from fortified wines to table wines in New Zealand. A little later on we had other changes. You speak to young people today and you say, it used to be illegal for wine to be sold in supermarkets, and they say, what do you mean it was illegal? Well, until 1989 it was illegal for wine to be sold in supermarkets. You would ask why, and the reason was because there was a duopoly between the breweries and the government to control the supply of alcohol in New Zealand. It meant a lot of money for the breweries, and it meant very easy control for the government. But today we have wine available 24 hours a day, effectively 7 days a week throughout New Zealand, 363 and a half days a year. And most of the wine which we drink now is, our biggest selling wine is Sauvignon Blanc, followed by Chardonnay. Pinot Gris is increasingly common drink. How many Pinot Gris drinkers here? There you go. 10 years ago nobody would have put up their hand because nobody would have known what Pinot Gris was. In red wine, Pinot Noir is increasingly important. Who's a Pinot Noir drinker? I'm certainly a Pinot Noir drinker. Those wines are all table wines, they're all consumed with food, and they're the reason New Zealand wine has been hugely successful overseas, because they are of New Zealand, they are distinctively New Zealand, and they're made by people who are incredibly well trained in the sciences, biochemistry, chemistry, biology, etc. Our industry is very, very high tech. It's a fermentation industry, it's an agriculturally based industry, and real success is about knowing the place in which you're growing the grapes and then letting the wine express that place. And that's the sort of holy grail that winemakers seek. What they're not about, our winemakers, is selling as much wine as they possibly can, as cheaply as possible, to young underage drinkers. And there's a simple answer for that as to why, and the answer is there's no money in it. My winemakers want to make money, and they'll make money by selling high-priced wine to people who can afford it, and through a distribution channel where everybody in that distribution channel, from the grape grower at the beginning to the final retailer at the end, makes money, and delivers value to the customer at the end of the day. And our concern about the alcohol reform bill that's going to come into Parliament is actually, while aspects of the bill are very good, there are some very strange things in there which you scratch your head and say, why is that there? And if I can, I'd just like to give you a couple of examples. One of the things in there is that it provides a monopoly for supermarkets on the sale of wine and food for off-premise consumption. Now, there have been problems with corner dairies having the ability to sell alcohol, and under our current Act, they were actually never intended to have the ability to sell alcohol, but because of the way the Liquor Licensing Commission interpreted the law, they were given that right. So what the bill at the moment says is, unless you're a supermarket, you can't sell alcohol, wine and food together. And it actually goes even further. It says, if you're a retail outlet and you're not a supermarket, at least 85% of your turnover must come from alcohol if you want to sell alcohol. Now, think about it for a second. They're actually requiring retailers to maximise the sale of, maximise their revenue from alcohol compared with other things. So if I'm a winery cellar door, and somebody comes and visit me, the Newmarket Rotary Club, actually they're going to disincentivise me to sell t-shirts, caps, corkscrews, other stuff in the outlet, because if I go above the 85% level, I can't have a licence. This seems very, very strange. Now their intent is to capture corner dairies, but that's not actually what they're doing. And there's a really good example last year of this. There was a retail outlet, a liquor store in Ponsonby Road, and it was quite a big shop. The owner of the shop wanted to effectively cut that store in half, as put in something like a nosh store in half the store, and keep the rest for the sale of beer, wine and spirits. The licensing commission said, no, you can't do that, because not enough of your turnover is going to come from the sale of alcohol. Now, you would have thought they're cutting the area in half, they are reducing the quantity that's going to be there to sell, and they said, no, you can't have a licence, you've got to stick with what you're doing. It seemed very, very, very strange indeed.